Montreal welcomes in the Florida Panthers for the second half of a back-to-back. Adam Engstrom sent down to Laval. No changes to the forwards or defensive groups. Evans, Doc, Gouli have all skated in recent days but aren't quite ready yet. In net for Montreal tonight, Samuel Montembeault, the Rat, Brad Marchand, not playing for the Panthers, likely too scared of what was coming to him. Florida, probably one of the only teams who can say they've had it worse than Montreal in terms of injuries. Lots of key players out, and this roster is a far cry from the one that's won back-to-back Stanley Cups. In net for the Florida Panthers, Sergei Bobrovsky, 17, 11, and 1, 285 goals against average, and an 885 save percentage. And getting the net for Montreal, as said earlier, Samuel Montembeault, 7, 6, and 1 with a 348 goals against average and an 865 save percentage. And the Montreal Canadiens get out to an early start right away. Noah Dobson uncorks an absolute rocket off the stick of AJ Greer, off the crossbar and into the back of the net. A perfect start for the Montreal Canadiens with a very early lead to work with. Last night against Calgary, the inability to score in the first period was probably the only things the Canadiens didn't do well, and they've solved that part of the equation early. So now Montreal looks to keep building off of this quick start against a division rival. Samuel Montembeault wastes no time getting involved in the game. He bails out a Jaden Struble brain fart, alertly keeps his pad along the ice when Struble turns it over right in front of him. Slafkovsky laid a big time hit on Ekblad in the corner that drew a crowd and earned him a penalty for boarding. Definitely a deserved penalty, but now the Canadiens are in a precarious spot with the Panthers going to the power play for the first time. Montreal kills off the power play. They only allow a pair of weak shots, and it's mission accomplished early for the Canadiens. Back at 5-on-5, the game swings back in Montreal's favor. Balinskis ends up laying out Caulfield from behind. He gets called for interference, giving the Canadiens their first chance on the power play. Unfortunately for the Canadiens, their first unit had a really hard time getting anything going and couldn't get set up in the zone. The Habs end up squandering their first opportunity on the power play. All in all, it was a quite low event period. You could tell Florida was really trying to simplify the game. With so many of their best players out of the lineup, they don't really have a choice. Lane Hudson really stood out yet again with more terrific stick handling. Slafkovsky and Demidov ended up doing a terrific job in deep on the forecheck. Slafkovsky kicks it out front, and Kapanen swings at a puck out of midair on the backhand and puts it in behind Bobrovsky to double the Canadiens' advantage. They go up 2-0 on Kapanen's league-leading 15th of the year amongst rookie skaters, his third straight game with a goal, and the Canadiens are looking great early in this one. Slafkovsky does end up taking his second minor penalty of the period just seconds after the goal, this time for interference on Mikkola, and he gives the Panthers their second power play of the game. It's a dangerous situation. The Panthers could get right back into it, but the Habs penalty kill again does a terrific job. They've really improved lately, and Florida could hardly manage to gain the zone. Once again, they only managed a couple of weak shots that didn't pose too much danger to the Canadiens. It was a really nice first period by the Montreal Canadiens. 2 goals up at home against Florida. You've definitely been the better team. Now take advantage of this weakened Panthers roster. Ensure you get 2 critical points against this division rival and give yourself that much more space in the playoff race. So the teams go into the second period and the Panthers come out fighting in the second. They get a couple of early looks and Montembeault rises to the occasion. They catch a bit of a break when Struble gets caught flat-footed, but Sharon Govich just couldn't get a shot on net on a breakaway, and it's clear that even in their diminished state, Florida's going to be much more of a challenge than the Calgary Flames were just a day ago. They're not going to roll over and quit anytime soon. Montembeault ends up making the mother of all mistakes with a horrendous no-look behind the back pass right in front of his own net. It could not have been a better tape-to-tape pass if Montembeault had tried. The only issue is it was directly to Sam Bennett, who deposited it into the empty net and split the Canadiens' lead in half. A really unfortunate mistake for a guy who's been playing much better of late, and with how fragile his game has been mentally of late, you hope that a mistake like that doesn't end up short-circuiting him completely. But the second period woes really seem to resurface in this one. The Panthers recorded the first 9 shots on goal of the period, and while the Canadiens did eventually manage to kind of slow the Panthers' onslaught, the Habs could not generate a thing offensively. The Canadiens didn't even manage a shot on goal for the first 13 minutes of the period, but they did ensure that their first shot of the period was a great one. Alexandre Texier found himself with some space in the offensive zone, and with Caulfield and Texier in front of the net, he just sends the puck towards them along the ice. Texier alertly had his stick on the ice, deflected the puck directly into the Panthers' net, and restored the Canadiens' 2-goal lead, puts them up 3-1. Alexandre Texier really coming into his own on the first line and has been a truly great fit with Suzuki and Caulfield. And it raises questions about if you can really take him off that line when a guy like Kirby Dach is ready to come back. The Habs fans get festive yet again after that goal. Another big wave breaking out. More ole ole cheers. Florida doesn't quit though, and they keep fighting to get back within one. The Habs defense bends, but they don't break, and Montembeault, aside from the earlier puck handling gap, has a really strong first 2 periods in the books. The Alexandre Texier show continued. He threw a big hit along the boards on Reinhart, then ended up drawing a 4-minute double-minder for high sticking on the retaliatory play by Lundell. The Habs were given an excellent opportunity to really stretch the advantage going into the third period, but credit to the Panthers' penalty kill. They really applied a lot of pressure to the Canadiens' puck handlers and made it really difficult for the Canadiens to generate many chances on the power play. The Habs had a pair of looks, but nothing too dangerous, and the teams end up going into the second intermission with the Canadiens ahead by 2 goals. Definitely was not as strong of a period for the Canadiens, but they were opportunistic and they took advantage of the few chances they did generate. They put themselves in a very favorable position, headed into the third period against the defending Stanley Cup champions, up 3-1. The Habs have 20 more minutes to go to earn their 7th straight win against the Florida Panthers. And they start the third period still with the final minute of that double-minder to Lundell, but if the Canadiens had one weakness tonight, it was definitely their power play. They didn't generate much of anything. Danault actually ends up getting called for a high stick on Lundell right after Lundell gets out of the box, but on the replay you can see it was clear that it was a teammate's stick. The refs see exactly that on the replay, but because the NHL is the NHL and they're still living 30 years in the past, they can't call off the penalty. It's upheld regardless of the clear evidence that it never should have been called in the first place. The Panthers go to the power play. The Habs do a great job limiting their chances, and they even generate a really nice 2-on-0 look. They kill off another penalty, and the PK stays perfect thanks to more nice play by Montembeault and the penalty killers. A scrum after a whistle leads to some offsetting minors that puts the teams at 4-on-4, a situation which will usually favor the team that's trailing. The Panthers get a few really nice looks at the 4-on-4, and Montembeault steps up with some of his best saves of the game. Texier and Caulfield then break away on a 2-on-1. Texier tries to feed Caulfield, but his pass is blocked and comes right back to him. Bobrovsky had already started moving to cover off the pass, and Texier had a relatively easy task of putting it over Bobrovsky's pad for his 2nd goal of the game. That's 5 points in 2 games for Alexandre Texier, furthering the idea that you simply can't take him off of the first line with the way he's been playing. The Habs go up 4-1 in the third period, just like last night against the Flames, and now they have the task of shutting this one down and trying to earn their 7th straight win against the Panthers. Sam Bennett does the Habs a favor by breaking the stick of Bolduc with a slash in the offensive zone and putting the Canadiens on their 4th power play. And this was by far the Canadiens' strongest power play of the night. They had multiple really nice one-time chances, but Bobrovsky was able to keep the Canadiens from stretching the lead, and in particular prevent Alexandre Texier from scoring a hat-trick goal. And as the penalty ends, Gallagher gets beat by Rodriguez at the offensive blue line. It leads to an odd man rush for the Panthers, and while Montembeault makes the initial stop on Rodriguez, the rebound goes right to Bennett, who had just exited the box. Fighting Matheson for the puck, he taps it home to make it 4-2, and this one isn't over quite yet. The Canadiens cannot afford to take their foot off the gas pedal, because even this diminished version of the Florida Panthers is dangerous and can erase multiple goal leads very quickly. Florida kept pushing after that Bennett goal too, and they did not make it easy on the Canadiens. The Habs got hemmed in a couple times, and the Panthers came dangerously close to cutting the lead to just 1. The most dangerous of those chances was when Lane Hudson completely whiffed on a one-time chance at the blue line. Sam Bennett found himself charging into the Canadian zone on Sam Montembeault, but Montembeault was equal to the task and does just enough to keep it out and preserve the Canadiens' lead at 2 goals. So Florida ends up pulling Bobrovsky for the 6-on-5 advantage, and while the Panthers do get some offensive zone possession time, they can't really get anything towards the net. Slafkovsky gets sent in all alone with the empty net by Lane Hudson. He gets slashed from behind, his stick explodes just as he's about to put it in. The refs award the goal, the Habs go up 5-2. This one has been iced, but the good times do not end there. After a big hit by Xhekaj and Beck, Alexandre Texier manages to get the hat-trick as he takes a home run swing at a puck in midair right in front of the Panthers' net, and after having his first ever 2-goal game just a night ago, Alexandre Texier follows it up with his first ever hat-trick. 6-2 for Montreal. What an unreal story. Texier with 5 goals in his last 2 games. Montreal got this guy for nothing from the Blues after they cut him. Unreal. A 7th win in a row, as mentioned earlier, against the Florida Panthers for the Montreal Canadiens. Nobody has had the Cup champions number like the Montreal Canadiens have these last 2 seasons. What an unbelievable win for the Montreal Canadiens, and what an unreal story for Alexandre Texier. From a total 0 in St. Louis to a complete hero in Montreal. Back-to-back games as the first star, and an unreal ovation for Texier yet again. What a 24 hours for the Montreal Canadiens. With the victory, the Habs go into first place in the Atlantic Division and the Eastern Conference. Things are looking up. They are really starting to space themselves out from the competition. Let's keep it going. Saturday night against the Detroit Red Wings. Gonna be a huge matchup for the fate of the division. Let's see how they do. Anyway, you guys, that's going to be it for me. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you made it to the end of the video, please consider giving us a like and a subscribe. It really helps out the channel. And have a great night, guys.
Vive la France! Oh, sweet peace! Standing up! Give it back! Go together. Okay, you do the speech. Together. Enjoy the afternoon, boys.